Corner. I'm Danny Koontz, Director of Relationship Management for Windy City Equipment. Today, we're going to continue part 2 of my conversation with Mark Raskow. Mark is the CEO and Chief Growth Officer of Umbrella One, and we're going to continue the conversation that we started last week, which was about Mark's career, Umbrella One, his current company, and then some business things in the conversation of customers and success and things like that. We're going to continue that conversation today. Mark, thanks so much for taking the time to do this second podcast with me.
Appreciate it very much.
Let's talk a little bit about customer communication and how important that is for every phase of business.
Yep. Well, if you're customer obsessed like we are, serving the customer is not enough. We always talk about over serving the customer, not giving them what they ask for, giving them more than they ask for. And I'm going to break this up, I guess, into two segments. If we're talking about customer communication, there's new clients and then there's existing clients. I'll start with new clients. New clients, I spend a lot of time before we ever talk about any form of partnership, getting to know them. That's professionally and personally. It's important that I know who they are and what they're like to work with. And then obviously through the course of that, I also learn about what are their headaches, what are their challenges, how do they run their programs? Because in the end, you can make the mistake and say, well, they've got units and I fix stuff and stuff breaks. We're aligned. I've grown to appreciate that doesn't necessarily make it a perfect match. They may do things in a way that we're not capable of performing. They may have requirements that we just have to be honest, we can't solve for that. Or maybe there's just a personality difference. Maybe they don't like me. They may say, hey, Mark, Umbrella One sounds great. We're not sure we really like you and we don't want to work with you, and vice versa. But a lot of time, and I'm talking, it could be 6 to 12 months, if not longer, is invested in getting to know each other and making sure we understand each other and where we're coming from. Because if and when we're fortunate enough to get to a point where we do want to test each other out, I want to be as well prepared as possible. And hopefully, as we talk about customer communication, there's a lot of talking, but there's a lot more listening that's going on. Mm-hmm. And hopefully I've, over the course of whether it's 6, 12 months, whatever, been listening to what they're saying. And I'm able to coach my team and prepare them and say, hey, this is the way Danny likes it. These are the things that have bothered Danny in the past. These are the things we need to make sure out of the box we know Danny doesn't like, et cetera. And it just helps expedite things. We operate with the go slow to go fast model, but I don't want to make it slower than it has to be. So if we can day one say, hey, Danny's been generous with his time over the last year or so, having lunch with me, sharing with me, I know these things. We're still going to go slow, but we can move a little quicker, and we certainly could help hopefully solve his issues a lot faster. So that's on what I would say the new customer side. On the existing customer side, communication just helps expedite everything quicker and easier. Everything from quotes, first time fix rate, completion times, you name it. We're looking to reduce mistakes and clear communication, client to us to service partner. That's the easiest way to limit. I would love to say eliminate, but it's really more reduce mistakes. I've yet to find a way to totally promise I can make no mistakes. And then there's two ways of looking at that. There's client directive feedback. That's them giving us feedback, and it sounds one way, but it's their way of saying, hey, I'm going to be real productive. I'm going to make this educational for you. I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to tell you exactly, I've watched enough of your podcast. I'm going to tell you what you need to know. Just listen and then do it. And it's easy. I'm making it as easy on you as possible. We have some customers, they'll even say, hey, Mark, we know you subcontract. Call this contractor. This guy, we know he's good. It's okay. I could call him direct, but I'm going through you. Call this guy. They're very generous in that regard. That's not something we rely on, but that does happen from time to time. They're just plain and simple trying to help you get the job done as easy as possible. And then the last thing I'll say is we hope to get the reverse of that. We hope there's opportunities where we, from our experience, could go back to our client, our FM, and say, hey, here's some feedback you should be aware of. This was our experience, and here's some things we think that could be done differently next time to make it better. Sometimes they're receptive, sometimes they're not.
Sure. Well, and at the end of the day, one of the things you said at first is really important. Take the time to find out from the clients that you're serving, what do they need? What do they want? I always did that. I was like, hey, listen, you want to know 3 important things? Don't ever lie to me. I better be the first person that knows when something went wrong, and tell me the truth. Don't tell me you're going to be there tomorrow if you got a 20% chance of getting there tomorrow. Tell me no. Tell me 2 days. Just that's what matters. I can live with the rest of it. But if you want to know what's going to get that phone call from me late at night, is not doing one of those 3 things. And I'm really going to be mad because I told you. It wasn't like you got surprised. I've told you. And then you didn't listen and you didn't do it. And now we have a problem. But because I start to wonder, what else are you not listening about? And lots of people can communicate when it's good. We're going to be there an hour early. I'll call them. That's easy. But we're going to be 2 hours late. I won't call them. Maybe they won't call me. That's not how you do it. It's just not. And figuring out what a customer wants, what do they need, and then delivering it to them as best you can, good and bad, good and bad.
And it's funny because you're talking on a project level.
Sure.
But the thing I didn't even mention, which is so critical, and it's a word that should be inserted in front of communication, is proactive communication. Because one of the things, we have a mantra in the office that, and I think you've heard me say this in our calls before, David Pfeiffer, my business partner, is famous for saying, if it's not in the notes, it didn't happen. So, because of all these software platforms,
yep,
there's really no excuse to not communicate. It's not, hey, I tried calling Danny, I couldn't get him on a phone. Go into Service Channel, go into whatever you're working with, and put it in the notes. And by the way, Danny should never have to call you. Danny should maybe want to call you. Maybe he's got some new ideas. But on a project level, he shouldn't have to call. He should have to just open his dashboard on his computer or however he's doing it and say, okay, here's the note. Oh, they said they were going to be there at noon. Now it's pushed to 3:00. Now you may want to call and follow up why, but the notes are there and I don't have to wonder what's going on.
Sure. You're right. But even that's the tech delivering good notes to the service dispatch team. So the service dispatch team can pick those up, put them into the third-party platform or whatever it may be. There's still a communication piece between people to make that happen and make it happen right. So at every level. What are 3 values that people who work on your team must have to be successful?
3 values that people on my team must have to be successful. I'm going to start with focus would be first and foremost.
Okay.
I start there because I'm fortunate to have 2 business partners that I respect a lot and I'm completely aligned with, David Pfeiffer and Michael Visa. And we are all in on this business. We live it nonstop. We have a long-term commitment to being here, and we are beyond focused. I don't know if it's fair to ask them to be as focused as we are, but focus to us, it drives engagement. It's what drives productivity. If we're fortunate, it drives innovation. Those are the things that we need to make this business sustainable and to constantly make sure our customers are getting everything they deserve out of us and that we're viewed in the best light possible. And this business, there's tons of variables. There's a lot of emotion in it. And if you're not focused, you can get figured out pretty quick.
Sure.
And especially our clients, they'll know if you're not invested in getting their jobs done to the best of your ability or to their standard, quite frankly, it won't be long before that conversation's had. Second is accountability. And I think we touched on this in the last episode.
Mhm.
Accountability, people who hold themselves accountable, they just perform at a higher level because they know if something goes wrong, they're going to have to answer for it. That's what drives performance, and it ensures responsibility. And it's funny because to the people that I talk to that I hope to do business with someday, whether it's a supplier or a facility manager, I probably more than anything try to convey how responsible I feel for the business they give me, and that the buck stops with me. So even though they may not deal with me day to day, or they may have people dealing with some of my people, if there's an issue, I'm the first phone call they can make, and I'm going to get back to them as quick as possible, and I'm going to take care of it. And I'm the insurance policy.
Sure.
So I preach accountability and try to convey it to the people. So everyone on my team has to be accountable as well. And we're a big, we talk about trust nonstop. If you don't have accountability, there's no trust. I mean,
Sure.
You could just take that word off the table.
Right.
Third thing would be, I would go with curiosity. Curiosity is what fuels me. Curiosity is what got me in this business. Curiosity is what led me to get to know you, that led to this podcast today. Curiosity is what helps me in the industry find opportunities, build friendships, maybe friendships turn into partnerships. And I think the other thing with curiosity, I don't know how you learn without curiosity. And, a lot of our conversations when I reach out to you and get the benefit, hopefully you sense I'm trying to learn.
Sure.
And it comes from my curiosity. I'm not calling you for business, and I'm not calling you for growth or any of that.
Sure.
It's to hear your experience and share with you some of the things I'm going through and get some guidance from you. And that's curiosity. And that's what makes me open to and being receptive to what you're sharing. And then I get to walk away a smarter guy. And if you're not curious, you probably still can learn. I just don't know how effective it is.
Great. Three great answers. Three. Speaking of our conversations, we were introduced through a mutual friend. And Norm Dutcher, he just said, hey, you need to call this guy more. You need to call. He's got some questions and so on. And it's just a phone call you should make. And so we set it up, and we've had conversations on the phone, and we've talked for hours. And just in conversation with no real agenda, just starting to bounce questions kind of back and forth, and then we just go. And all of a sudden we'll look up and go, holy cow, we've been on the phone almost 2 hours talking about stuff. And it's really been great. But one of the things you spoke about when you and I first talked, you asked a few questions about RIFMA. What RIFMA, kind of how did your interest get about that organization?
Yeah, so I shared earlier that, last year we had pared down our customer base.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a year that we were really trying to say, hey, we'd become, once again, things were great. So that it wasn't in response to anything negative, but it was, what can we do differently? What can we do? What aren't we doing well? And what are the opportunities we're missing? And we had participated in RIFMA and enjoyed RIFMA for many years leading up to the pandemic. And then the year was in Denver in 2020, and the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
We at the last second didn't attend the show just because we didn't kind of know what was going on. And I think we had sort of, through that, unintentionally just sort of lost the industry focus, that we got very into this, hey, let's put our head down, do good work, and that's enough attitude. And that's probably a little bit of my fault. I was like, hey, if we're putting out a good product, that's all we need to do. Well, fast forward to 2023, I realized there's a whole industry going on, and there's a lot to get from it. And it's not just about sales and growth. It's what we're doing right now. It's networking and learning. And I don't want to be bound by our four walls and our ceiling. I want to, there's so much happening outside of Umbrella One that's other people are doing well that they're willing to share. If it's proprietary and they don't want to share with me, then they won't. But I have found that most people are willing to talk, and everybody wants everyone to do well. I rarely see people say, "I'm not telling you how I do this," or maybe I'm not prying hard enough. but I had sort of committed to reaching out and sort of, I mean, just like you, when Norm spoke of you, and I already knew who you were. If I was like, Norm, if you say I should call him, I'm going to call him. And sure enough, you welcomed me with open arms, and now we talk each other ears off. I got to put an out of office reply on whenever I'm talking to you. But it's been helpful because I only know so much. I know what I know, and as the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know, and I want to find out as much as I can.
Sure. I've always said the biggest thing of RIPMA was the learning and learning by listening with people, and someone else is doing something that's probably better than how you're doing it, and you want to figure it out. What easier way than to go ask them and then adapt to it. And then, like I said, luckily maybe someday you're doing something right that someone wants to pick your brain about. That's great too, that you're doing that, and to share of information and to develop relationships and partnership. There's a ton of people in RIPMA. I've never done a nickel's worth of business in my life, ever. And we're great friends, and we'll be lifelong friends. Business wise, it didn't work, or we didn't, what they offered wasn't what I needed, whatever it may be. Any of that didn't matter. Still friends, still talk, still help each other out. And I think that's the big part of RIFMA. It's just an organization where you can learn and grow. And then you mentioned curiosity. I want to figure out who's doing something better. Who's got it figured out. I want to go find it. I want to talk to them. I want to hear that. And now I'm on the other side of it, and I still want to do it. I want to find out, from the service side of the business, who's doing it right, who's doing it, in a way that I want to find out why, how what's the secret sauce, So
no, 100%. And look, you could sit there and I'm fortunate I don't look at people as competitors, but part of those shows is not really just to go meet all the facility managers. On the supply side, there's a lot we don't do, and I like being armed with a good reference, because that's when you talk about partnership. If we don't do HVAC, I can't tell you how many times I've been able to make introductions to people I know who do HVAC and do it well.
Sure.
There's nothing in it for me other than taking care of my customer, making sure I can align them with somebody that has a good reputation, and hopefully they go on to have a successful relationship. There are people who I would say are probably close to being direct competitors of mine, and even we share it with each other. And by the way, there's customers out there that neither of us could serve there are people out there, I couldn't serve them by myself if I wanted to. So in that chance that they say, hey, there's more, and I have to say I can't take more, I want to make sure that the work I'm not doing is served by someone who can do a good job also, and that standards maintained across the board.
Sure.
So there's a lot to be gained by attending these events, and hopefully people reach out to me as well. It's not all one. Hopefully some people not, which I've been blessed. Some people make a point of coming up to me and reaching out to me, and I love that.
Yes, absolutely. It's great. I got two more. First one, biggest regret in your career. What's a do-over? If you could.
Yeah. No, well, that I could answer that easily. So the biggest regret in my career is, how do I start? It's allowing toxic personalities to exist in my company too long. There's a phrase called nurturing the poison. And I have a tendency to see what the good people are doing. And I admittedly probably focus on that too much and maybe ignore some other stuff I shouldn't be ignoring. And I've seen what toxicity can do. And by the way, once it's removed, you usually discover it's 10 times worse than you thought it was. And you see the ripple effect it had that you didn't even think was happening. And it's probably it's a regret because it put good employees in a bad position and maybe made some of their days here darker than they needed to be because they were being exposed to just unnecessary behavior. And I admittedly probably was made aware of it and didn't act fast enough. So that's probably my biggest regret.
Interesting. Mine was, I've shared it with folks before, but I was put in a management role in Ruby Tuesday when I was very young, and probably early 80s. Okay. Culture of how people managed you in the 80s was different. You got yelled at every day, all day. And as long as they continued to yell, it meant they thought you still might have a chance to become something someday. So you kept coming back. Because I was told it very early, if they stopped yelling at you, that means they quit. So, oh, okay. So yelling is good. Well, in this case, it kind of is. So when I became a manager, I managed hard. Not hard, didn't mean to with people, but because I wanted the results to be good. I wanted to deliver for the restaurant operator every day, all day. And I wanted everybody that worked in my team to be absolutely outstanding. And they were. But I probably drove too hard in the wrong way and have regretted that. Now, the flip side of that is everyone who worked for me has been unbelievably successful. Not because of me, in spite of the way that I met. Maybe it's having good people, which I think it was, but they have been very successful. But learning how to manage and how to be more of a coach, teacher, whatever kind of position versus, okay, just give it to me and I'll do it for you. That's the wrong way to do it. And that was mine. And so when people share their regrets, I usually speak of what I learned, how to learn to be a manager. But because, it's a skill and you've got to learn how, and lots of people don't necessarily know how. The key is learning that you don't know how and making changes to get there, I think.
I understand that. When I ran as I shared before, this all started, I ran a self-performing pressure washing company, and it's a very hard business to run. We were 24/7. We had 3 shifts every day, and it was just, and I'm in Chicago, so you're trying to jam between spring and summer and fall as much work as you can. And tempers run hot. It's a lot of work, and I definitely understand yelling and all that, and learning that I don't know that volume gets me any better result.
Right. Understood. Last question for you. Give me a phrase or a saying that you live by.
Phrase or saying? There's a lot. I'm a big quote guy. I definitely like quotes. I'll say that the one recently that I find myself sort of replaying in my head is try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value. And that's Albert Einstein says that. And I find that value will lead to success. I don't know that for the times in my life I focused on success, I don't know that I necessarily failed, but I don't know that I achieved as high a level of success in that instance as I could have if I would have focused more on be as valuable as I can. And the success will be the reward of that. But certainly in my personal life and business life, I hope the people that know me see me as an ethical and valuable person in their lives. And if I've gotten that, I think I've done okay.
That's great. That's a great line. I was looking at your bio, and or on LinkedIn, and one of the taglines you had was family first, clients and teammates second, bikes and guitars are a close third. I thought that was awesome, but focus was family first.
Well, I had clients first. My wife changed it. She put family first, and I let it stand.
That's great. I used 3 words: be better today. And that's mine. And no matter if I had a great day, can I get better? If I had a really bad day, tomorrow I start all over. And I just need to be better today than I was yesterday. And if I, little by little, work at it and do everything I possibly can to be a little better, over time, I'm going to get to where I want to go. Just be better today. Just do more, do better every day.
It sounds simple.
Well, but I mean, I'd spent most of my life in facilities, which is extremely hard and difficult. So, but it kind of helps you through the day. When you have one of those days where everything you touch just goes wrong and it doesn't work, it's just, that's kind of how you come back the next day. Start all over, new piece of paper, here we go. And, we'll go from there. Yeah.
And that's the fun of it, because every time we think we've got it figured out, something else pops up.
Sure.
But that's what keeps it interesting. That's what makes it fun. Without that, I don't know that anyone would want to do this, because otherwise it's just hard.
It's very difficult. And I've spoke about this with folks that have talked about it. I said, listen, I'm in facilities. So right out of the chute, I'll never do it fast enough, quick enough, cheap enough for the customer. I won't. That's a given. Whether I think I do, if they don't think it, then okay, it's probably not. I got to fix it. But it's not the loss. It's not the things that didn't happen. It's that one person that sends you a note or calls you and says, hey, man, you really helped me. You got my air conditioning on today, fixed on a Friday, and it's a, whatever festival in our town, and I'm going to do all this business on, and you got it done. Thank you. It's that one, not the 10 that, not quick enough, fast enough, charge too much, all those things. Not that you got it done. That one person that says, hey, thank you, or you helped me and I appreciate your help. That's what keeps you coming back.
I'll really quick on that. It's funny that you were maybe close to ending. I don't know where we're at, but I'll do this really quick.
Sure.
It's funny lately with new potential partnerships, I find myself pitching, hey, we have all this experience and we've got a lot of innovative ideas and creativity and all these things. And how many of them say, hey, well, that's all great, but let's just work on the basics first. Because right now I've yet to find a partner who can just fix the toilet when they say they're going to fix the toilet.
Block and tackle.
You got it. Let's do the basics first. And once we've established that we consistently can do the basics for an extended period of time, then we can talk about innovation. But right now, I just need someone who says he's going to be there at 2:00 on Tuesday to be there on Tuesday within a couple hours of 2:00. Forget 2:00.
Yeah.
And I laugh because I'm trying to give them more. And the experience is, hey, let's start from ground zero. I keep thinking that part's already solved for, but like you say, be better tomorrow, and or be better today. I'm sorry.
Be better today. Just do the best you can. That's all you can do. You're right. Well, that's about it. Time today for our episode. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time, kind of talking about your company, talking about you, and kind of business in general, which I think will be great for our audience. So we appreciate everything. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode of FM Corner next week.